Well, this is the first virtual learning series of 2025. Our virtual learning series features experts, practitioners, parents, leaders who provide insights and solutions on achieving racial equity and justice for Black children and families. With the current state of our country, we're entering into this discussion feeling a mix of emotions. But as a civil rights and faith leader, I have to say personally that I believe that we are all poised and we're ready for the journey ahead and that we're ready to meet this moment. NBCDI is a 54-year-old organization. It has been on the front lines of advocating for civil rights for Black children over the course of its history. Our values are equity is a process, justice is our goal, and Afrofuturism is our guide. Afrofuturism informs our collective vision and our strategic efforts, such as our 8 essential outcomes, our efforts in policy, research, and activism, emerge from our Afrofuturistic commitments and require shifts in the current social and economic systems necessary to achieve our 8 essential outcomes. We at NBCDI are prioritizing the safety of Black children through our Commission on Black Child Safety, where we will mobilize leaders nationally and locally around safe communities, schools, and digital spaces. We're curating the Coalition on Water Justice as a next step to activate our efforts in environmental justice for Black children. We believe that every Black child deserves access to clean water, and it's a natural human right. Our research proves that this is possible. This year, we're also gathering stakeholders across the national organization, from parents to educators to policymakers, at our national conference in October to connect with the infinite possibilities that Black children deserve, the tangible outcomes and actions we can, will, and must take in order to make them happen. While we do not claim to have all of the answers, we are certainly in pursuit as an organization of solutions. And we seek to do that in community with all of you, to learn from you, to listen to you, and to advocate with you. Proximity experts are central to our work, which is why we've traveled to cities across the country during our national village tour, connecting directly with communities across our village network, supports, and it's equally important that we hear from our broader audience, which is why we are taking the opportunity today to answer questions from you. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Ariana Thomas.
Thank you so much, Rev. I am excited about today's discussion. We have a lively and relevant conversation planned for you today. We are going to talk about how we are addressing the moment and how our plans for the year will continue to do so. I am Ariana Santiago Thomas. I am the Director of Communications at NBCDI and a recent addition to the team. I am very honored to be here. I'm also the mother of two amazing, brilliant, busy children. And while I also am showing up as an aunt and a godmother and a comforter within my village. And so this work for me is very personal. The future of Black children, the future of all Black children, of my village Black children is incredibly, incredibly important. And so my heart space is centered in this work. They are what fuels me. They are what fuels my strategy, informs my strategy. And when I see them being able to relish in the childhood that they have right now, I am affirmed in knowing that the future that we plan for tomorrow, literally tomorrow, that is their future. Their future is happening now, and it is literally tomorrow. And so I am brought into this work thinking about them today, and thinking about how They bring me forward and their futures are unfolding right now. Today, I am feeling grounded and activated in urgency. I want to get this work done this year. So, I would love to hear from both members of our senior leadership team that are present today. Talk to me about your role. Tell me about the wonderful Black children in your life that motivate you. And let's talk about how we're feeling in the moment.
Thank you so much. Hello everyone. My name is Alicia Hardy. I am the Vice President of Policy and Research here at NBCDI. I've had the honor of this title since May. And what makes it such an honor is that I get to do this work in service of Black children and Black families that look exactly like mine, that look nothing like mine, and everything in between. And I absolutely love it. Every day I get to boldly and unapologetically use research to reclaim the narrative of our history, who we are presently, and the future, the liberated future we demand for Black children and families that we deserve. A future that is not obsessed with our productivity and our labor potential, but that centers our health, wellness, and well being. A near future that does not confuse the need to fix systems that were created to harm and oppress Black people with the idea that Black people need to be fixed. Because that is what the current narrative is. That is what research often says. And that is just not true. We have to understand that Black people do not need to be fixed, that systems do. And that's really at the root of the work that I do here at NBCDI. We see this idea of fixing Black people right now in the current political landscape. We see it through restrictions on funding for social programs and increased budgets around policing, extreme oversight and reduced funding and plans to dismantle agencies and surveillance of immigrant populations. But in the midst of all this, similar to Ariana, I am inspired by my beautiful Black family, my husband of 12 years, my son Reggie, who's 11, and my daughter Robin, who is 7, and all 5 of my nieces and both of my nephews who call me a cool auntie, but until I start dancing, then they're not with it anymore. But when I engage in research and policy, I think about who they are and what they need to thrive. But as Rev said earlier, I don't hold all the answers. I really depend on this work to be collective. I really depend on this work to be something that is a village. And so when I engage in research, that is what I do. Part of my job is hearing from the Village Network because Black communities and Black families must be at the center of what the solutions are and what they look like. And if I had one word to describe how I'm feeling, I'm just going to use one word is emboldened. I'm feeling emboldened right now in this moment.
Good afternoon, everyone. Reverend Terrence McKinley. Again, I am the Vice President of Movement Building and Strategy at NBCDI. It's easy to talk about what inspires me in this moment because 10 years ago and one day ago today, my younger brother, his life was changed because it was on that day that he brought home my niece, Taylor Marie McKinley, who celebrated her 10th birthday yesterday at Disney World and has sent me pictures overnight. I will never forget the moment when he brought her home because I remember looking over his shoulder and seeing how she had changed his life in that moment. What I didn't realize until that moment happened is that she was also changing my life. Over the years, kids love toys, and it's one of our outcomes that they have books and toys that reflect them. And every Christmas, I have a habit of making certain that she has toys, but I always, since she was very young, would make sure that she had books that reflected who she was. And I remember the Christmases where I got a chance to read with her, and how she loves to read now, 10 years later. So in this moment, I'm coming to it. I'm thinking about Taylor, my 10-year-old niece. I also recently got engaged, and so I'm thinking about the children that I hope to have real soon. At NBCDI, I believe that we have great work to do. How am I feeling in this moment? I think that for many of us, if we're honest, this moment is characterized by some uncertainty. But I will say that while we all feel the uncertainty of the moment, I am grounded in the confidence in our collective power and what we can do when we are aligned and when we're working together. And so I'm bringing all of that into this moment.
Thank you both so much for that. So though I've just joined the team at NBCDI, I have been watching and learning with the organization for a while. I've noticed that NBCDI is excellent about listening to our community and proximity experts to understand the concerns and needs of members in our wider network. NBCDI has put together various surveys, analyzed the responses, and we've held listening sessions. We toured the country. Going on our National Village tour, we've read emails, direct messages. We have had conversations in preparation for today and for our work ahead. We want to acknowledge everyone who has raised their voice, submitted questions, engaged with us online and in person. And we are listening to you, and today we are responding. And I think that you will also see throughout the rest of the year how your voice funnels into the work that we're doing every day. And so we want to also acknowledge the statement that Dr. Austin shared yesterday regarding the chaos caused by the Trump administration over the last few days with the federal with the federal freeze. People were nervous, and understandably so. People were confused. Federal programs were threatened that are essential to ensuring economic mobility, job access, healthcare, education, nutrition. And these are real threats. All of these threats in various ways, directly and indirectly, are connected to NBCDI's essential outcomes. And so most recently, in the last 24 hours, we've learned about 2 new executive orders that threaten culturally responsive education and traditional public school systems. Those are the Ending Racial Indoctrination in K through 12 Schools executive order, and the second is Expanding Educational Freedom for Families. The first appears to set forth a plan to defund and eliminate culturally responsive teaching in schools that receive federal funds. The second creates a school choice environment that would allow parents to leverage federal funds towards any school of their choice, including private and faith-based schools. We acknowledge that these executive orders have caused some confusion, and our audience is trying to figure out, what does everything mean? What does this mean for me? What does this mean for my children? What does this mean for schools across the nation? And so we understand, what we know for sure is that this will impact Black children the most. Please stay connected with us. We are still learning and understanding these executive orders and the impact that they will have on our country and our children. Stay connected with us as we're collecting facts. From what we learn from those facts, we will then turn over resources to our communities, and we will help you stay informed and aligned with our 8 essential outcomes as rapidly as we can. Our 8 essential outcomes are children's basic rights. They are not luxuries. Anything that we wouldn't want for every child, they're not luxuries or anything that we wouldn't want for every child. And so to our village partners and members and supporters, do not let these activities obscure our vision and leave us too exhausted to imagine and build better systems. There's certainly a lot to discuss today. Please continue to engage with us on social media and via email. We are listening to you right now. Feel free to drop questions or to engage with us in the chat. We look forward to continuing this work from a collective voice with Afrofuturism as our guide. And so while we're on the topic of Afrofuturism, Alicia, we have received several questions about Afrofuturism. And so one of them, the main theme of the questions is, how can we focus on the now and the future? And how are we guided by Afrofuturism in moments like the present one?
Thank you. That's such a great question. So, focusing on the now and the future is essential to Afrofuturism. And what Afrofuturism, and we can also add the past to that. There's a focus on the past, the present, and the future. And that's what Afrofuturism really does. And it is a cultural, intellectual, and artistic movement that envisions a liberated, empowered future for Black people. And we cannot imagine the future without respect to the past and attention to the present. So we have to act now for the future that we imagine. So the present is extremely important to what Afrofuturism is and mean. Throughout our diasporic history, throughout the African diaspora and our history, we have blended science and technology, creativity, all of that to really remain resilient. We've always leveraged the tools we had, invented the ones that we didn't, and remained innovated to create what we did not see, but we know we needed. So this is Afrofuturism in practice. It is applied to a radical imagination, imagining the future and actively creating it. Through applications of this practice, we are designing a world where all Black people and communities transcend systemic oppression and thrive in environments rooted in cultural pride, innovation, and justice. Our commitment to our children is unshakable. We imagine a future where, even in the face of adversity, Black children are able to experience unfettered joy, surrounded by communities that empower them, fortified by social and economic systems that celebrate their brilliance, and are embraced by families and leaders who refuse to let their full potential go unfulfilled. So we are in a time that demands innovation, vision, and advocacy. Throughout this year, you'll see how our how our initiatives are meeting the demand of the now to get us towards that future, that liberated future that we deserve. And we're grounded in the educators, our villages, families, partners that support us to meet the demand of what we see as a future that is liberated for every Black child and their family. I will say that Afrofuturism through a policy context and a systems change context is something that is so critical to our work. And I'm really excited to talk more about what that looks like and preview a little bit of a report that we're going to be releasing. But I'll talk a little bit about that later.
Thank you so much. So, as we're talking about policy and advocacy, as we're moving into that, one of the themes in a great deal of the questions we received was around advocacy, particularly from our audience who are educators and administrators. Alicia, given the national political climate, what do NBCDI advocacy efforts look like this year, and how can educators and even the broader audience use their voice and get engaged?
Thank you. So, yes, all of our advocacy efforts are centered around advancing the 8 essential outcomes for Black child development. In the current hostile, turbulent, and unpredictable political climate, our outcomes are the North Star that guides what we advocate for. And how we do that will be detailed in our upcoming report, Afrofuturism and Systems Change, Reclaiming Mental Models for Child Well-Being. And I honestly don't even like to call it a report. Honestly, I don't, because it's part manifesto, as it declares the vision and path that we see to realize the future that Black children and families need and deserve. It's part framework because it provides a clear process through which we and others who will partner with us can approach systems change using Afrofuturism. And it's also part call to action to join us in this work as we convene to collectively imagine and create better systems. So this, for lack of a better word, report is foundational to setting a clear path for how we will use Black knowledge, experiences, and expertise to advocate for the liberated futures that we demand. And how we do that is by identifying the existing narratives that drive the mindsets that result in the current feeling systems we have now, and work to create new narratives and mindsets that can support the systems that we do need to thrive. And that's exactly how we need people to show up, to use their voices, share your experiences with us, ask us questions, let us know what's happening where you are, engage in our webinars, attend our events, connect with your local BCDI, Black Child Development Institute Village, and help hold us accountable to a collective vision that ensures every Black child and family is healthy, well, and thriving. The voices, experiences, and expertise of Black communities are powerful in shaping the work that we do at NBCDI to ensure that every Black child birthed to age 8 is affirmed in their identity. I'd like to pass it all over to Rev. You have anything that you'd like to say as well?
Well, before we do that,
Absolutely.
Before we do that, I just want to acknowledge how that all of the things that you shared are all very much aligned to our 8 essential outcomes, but also reflect the contributions and the proximity of our National Village Network. And so, for those who are listening, please make sure that if you are not connected to a National Village to our National Village Network, that you check and see on our website where you can get involved with our National Village Network. So, Reverend McKinley, as we think about advocacy, we received a good amount of questions about our National Village Network and how the national office is working with those national leaders to ensure their strategic alignment between the national office and also our village network on the ground. And so an agenda specifically for this political climate is also something that they're curious about. And then, of course, capacity. So can you talk a little bit about that, Brez?
Sure, thank you. So at NBCI, we describe ourselves as the preeminent think and do tank for Black children and families. We recognize that we are truly igniting movements that drive systems change. And we are benefited by being connected to over 20 plus villages around the country. And so in 2024, NBCDI launched into our National Network Village Tour, where we began the first phase and we visited our villages in Miami and Detroit and Philadelphia and Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas. And the list goes on and on. And we had an opportunity through our village tour to enter into closer relationships with our leaders in our villages, to have a better understanding of what's happening at the local level, what the concerns are of the families and the educators and the leaders that are in the cities and states where NBCDI has served for decades. And it's been a great opportunity for us to strengthen the connections between our national office and our local leaders in the communities that they serve. We look to this, even as we go into phase 2 of our tour, to be an opportunity for us to do capacity building work. This is a time where we need the strength of our national office along with the strength of our village network. And so we're excited to your question about strategic alignment. We are entering into a capacity building effort that is happening up and down our organization. And so at the national level, we're expanding the coalition partnerships that we've had over years and entering into new partners with coalition partnerships as we're connecting with more and more civil and human rights organizations that are focused on making the well-being of Black children and family and ensuring a future where Black children can thrive. We're doing capacity building at the national level, but I'm an urban planner by profession. My degree is in urban planner and is in urban planning. And my undergraduate professor at Cornell would say to me, "There's no such thing as top-down planning or movement building. It's all bottom up, bottom sideways, right?" And we heard bottom up all the time, but this bottom sideways dynamic is powerful in informing us in this time. because we recognize that the broader our partnerships are on the ground, the stronger we are as an organization. And so I'm just going to underscore what you just said, Ariana. And for those who are watching us today, please visit us online. Look at all of the places where NBCDI has villages. If you want to start a village, you let us know. We want you to plug in. We want you to be a part of the movement.
Thank you. So our audience has been hearing about the 8 essential outcomes on a consistent basis. And we have centrally focused on national advocacy in those 8 areas. When we began to focus more on advocacy and systems change, our audience began to ask about NBCDI programs. 2 of the themes that we learned from the questions were around, first, the representation in books, specifically considering book bans and the threats on representation in general. And then the second being early childhood social, emotional, and behavioral well-being. So Alicia and Rev McKinley, you both have had a major part in this journey to shift our focus to national systems change through some very powerful interventions. And so today, I would love if you could talk about those interventions in place of the traditional NBCDI programs.
So, representation and ensuring that every Black child has books and toys that reflect who they are and can be is really near and dear to me. Growing up, I was a huge bookworm. I would read everything that I could get my hands on, but rarely were my hands on books with characters that look like me. But I still loved reading. But part of me really mourns the cultivation of love of reading that I could have had if I had characters that reflected me, my experiences, that really resonated me, made me feel empowered and seen. Because representation in books is so critical for Black children and their peers to learn about the beauty, the brilliance, the joy, the cultural wealth of Black communities across the African diaspora. But for Black children, this representation is limited. And it's because books about Black children and their experiences are seen as somehow political or controversial, when Black history, Black experiences, Black culture is not controversial. It is a part of this American system. It is a part of this entire fabric of this country. And globally, we should be learning about what Blackness is across the African diaspora. Imagine the rich in culture, the rich knowledge and the cultural perspective so many children are missing because of intentional and systemic limits to access to these critical books for Black children and all children. And so at NBCDI, we are addressing this head on through the launch of the Book, Toy, and Media Awards to address this lack of representation across all of these mediums. And these awards have 4 key goals. First, to celebrate joy and imagination by recognizing outstanding creators of culturally relevant books, toys, and media. To foster innovation through incentivizing the development of new materials that reflect the diversity of Black experiences, expanding access to book, toys, and media by engaging in a range of public, private, and philanthropic partnerships to distribute those resources, and to ensure that Black children from birth through age 8 have access to tools that affirm their identity. And to drive policy change by advocating for systemic change to prioritize accurate, diverse, powering representation for children in schools and childcare settings. We'll be launching these awards at our annual conference this year, which will be held in Atlanta. We're so excited about that. And you can, when they go on sale, purchase tickets to be there. But it's more than just awards. It really is an effort to advance policies. We see this attack. You talked about it earlier. Indoctrination, learning about Black history is not indoctrination. It is a part of understanding critical perspective so that children can have the knowledge necessary to be whole, to be able to know who they are, to have that affirming identity of who they can become.
Thank you so much. Rev, I know you have plenty that you'd like to add to that.
Yeah, so I would love to just mention one of the interventions that NBCDI is launching, which is the Commission on Black Child Safety. We recognize that Black children, when they engage in discussions about their heritage and their culture, that it builds their resilience, that it improves their mental health outcomes. Recognize that Black children, when they're exposed, they're better equipped to handle the discrimination and have a stronger sense of their own self worth. We recognize that exposure to Black history and culturally appropriate resources actually enhances Black children's ability to thrive. That 24% of Black children are enrolled in high quality early childhood education. That's compared to 40% of their white counterparts. We also recognize that culturally relevant materials in early childhood education improves students' confidence and gives them a greater sense of self-worth and belonging. And so NBCDI is launching a national effort called the Commission on Black Child Safety that is designed to recognize that safety is not just what we normally think of when we think of safety as physical safety, but safety is about creating an environment where your history can be celebrated and can be talked about freely. That safety is about creating an environment where your identity is celebrated as a Black child, as a Black boy and a Black girl, where your dreams are allowed to exist and not be erased. We just talked a moment ago about book bans. Last 2024 was the 70th anniversary of Brown versus Board of Education. And BCDI had an opportunity to stand with civil rights leaders and to proclaim that we're not going back, that we want to make certain that our children are able to access safe environments. And so our commission will be dedicated to this and driving this effort that we believe leads to larger system change.
Oh, so while we're continuing to think about programs, I want to also talk about resources for parents and educators. And so there is a dynamic program that we know for sure can move the needle on systems change, and that is the Family Empowerment Program, which is often called FEP. 96% of families who participated in the Family Empowerment Program agreed or strongly agreed that FEP helped to improve their knowledge about their children's development. And that's critical. As all these changes in schools are emerging, parents have shared that they will be teaching more concepts at home. Even information that was previously shared in schools, parents are looking for resources and ways to begin to integrate more of the education that they want to see for their children that might not be present in schools going forward is present in the home. And so, as we know, in order to do that, parents need practical tools, resources, and information. So, Alicia, there are now plans to advance the FEP curriculum to do even more to embolden parents. And will also contribute to enriching the partnership parents have with their child's educator. Because we received questions about both programs and resources for parents and educators, can you talk about how the Family Empowerment Program is now being reimagined and how we will see that in this upcoming year?
Yes, thank you. And as I mentioned before, I'm a parent of two beautiful Black children, and I, like all parents, want the best for them. And truthfully, as many parents, I'm kind of making it up as I go along because you're only a parent one time, and you become a parent again, and you think it's going to be a little easier, and it's not because parenting is difficult and it can feel isolating. And part of the family empowerment program traditionally has been, as you said, to really provide the tools, resources, and spaces for parents to really support the development and learning of their children. The program was designed to guide and coach parents and caregivers through a strengths-based curriculum that equips them with the knowledge, tools, and skills to support them. The overarching goal of the Family Empowerment Program, FEP, which we also call it, is to empower and support those families, and that won't change. But we are working to reimagine it to incorporate the ways families can be better prepared to navigate often hostile, complex, and burdensome systems to best advocate for their children. As you were talking, Ariana, so I'm so sorry, Ariana, when you were talking about the EOs that have come out, when we're talking about what's coming out of the current administration, the indoctrination, and all these shifts that are happening, it is so important now more than ever that parents have the resources, tools, knowledge to navigate systems. We definitely want children and families to be developmentally prepared and to be prepared for their learning. And a part of that is understanding how to navigate those systems. For example, providing resources and tools for families to navigate the transition from childcare into preschool. What do parents need to know when children transition from preschool into grade school? When your child is gifted and exceptionally reading at higher levels, what does that mean to advocate for your child to have more challenging materials? What does it look like to show up in a parent-teacher conference, to go to the school board, to request an IEP, or to deny that your child has a learning disability, but that perhaps they're not in an environment where they feel safe, where they feel affirmed, where they feel seen? We know that families are the best advocates for their children, yet systems are not designed for families to easily navigate and advocate for the individual needs of children. And under the current administration, that is not getting any easier. So our reimagining will be focused on how connected systems can be reimagined and redesigned to reduce barriers and gaps families experience through advancing strategic policy advocacy to directly address those barriers and informing and empowering parents to do that themselves in the daily lives of their children in these systems. And so right now we are in the planning and information gathering phase of this reimagining. We are speaking with families and educators across the country to gather information through discussions and focus groups to identify those pain points for parents and navigating childcare and education settings. We will then take those insights and use them to reimagine the program to empower families to be more powerful in how they show up, to create strengthened relationships between parents and educators so they can collectively advocate for those children and learning, and especially in early learning settings as well. So I'm really excited about how we're reimagining FEP, the Family Empowerment Program. I'm really excited about what this means for parents, what this means for educators, and I'm excited to hear from you all about where you see those pain points, where parents and families and educators could have more support to navigate these systems that are becoming increasingly hostile.
Thank you so much, Alicia. We are truly centering families and educators through the reimagined Family Empowerment Program. All of the interventions and efforts we discussed align with NBCDI's 8 essential outcomes, and from the representation focus with upcoming book, toy, and media awards to the Commission on Black Child Safety, which aligns with several of our outcomes, and of course, that we just discussed. It aligns with our outcome on Black children and how Black children should be seen as children. Rev McKinley, we did receive questions about our climate outcome and ensuring Black children have sustained access to clean air and water to live healthier lives. Can you talk about the work underway directly connected to that?
Sure. So NBCDI has plans to launch what we're calling the Coalition on Water Justice. We know that Black children have more than 2 times the lead level than other children. We know that's exacerbated by racial segregation, where they're dealing with communities that have greater lead levels in water and paint. We also know that since from 2005 to 2020, we saw The increase in water insecurity double and impact Black children. And so we are excited for the work that we will lead in 2025 related to our Clean Air and Water Justice Roundtable, where we will bring together practitioners, experts, persons who are doing work at the state level, along with movement leaders, thinkers, and policymakers to address the to address the issue of lead in water that impacts Black children. So we are excited. 2025 marks the difficult 11-year anniversary of the start of the Flint water crisis, and so on this occasion for this milestone, NBCDI is leaning into this work at the national level to really drive change along with our national network.
Between the Commission on Black Child Safety and all of the work that we're doing around environmental justice for Black children, you are certainly very busy, Rev. Part of your role also includes leading the National Village Network, which we recently had a lot of interest from groups who want to start a village in their area. They are ready to work in Tallahassee, in Florida, in Southern California. We've had inquiries elsewhere. And as a matter of fact, if you are in the chat and you want to start a village network in your area, please drop your city and state and represent. We would love to connect with you. Can you please explain for us, Rev, what the process looks like to start a village in their area?
Yeah, so we've been talking a lot at NBCDI about what it means to meet the moment. I'm really thinking about what is the organization that the moment demands. And NBCDI is strongest as we work alongside our grassroots leaders, our network leaders. And so we, for those who are interested in starting, everyone ought to join a village. You ought to go right now to our website, find out who's closest to you and join. For leaders that want to start a village, we look forward to it. We believe that this is an opportunity for us to build our capacity as an organization and build our strength. You can go visit us online. You can email either myself, Reverend Terrence McKinley, or Karan Kalu online. We would love to hear from you. In 2025, we're excited that we're about to announce that we are bringing in 3 new villages into our national village network. That might be the first time that has been announced. So it's hot off the press right here. And so we're excited about that. 2 weeks ago, we had an anniversary where 2 things were celebrated, but I'd like to point out that MLK Day was celebrated. And I had the opportunity on MLK Day to be in Atlanta, Georgia, and to hear from Reverend Dr. Bernice King. And she really helped us to focus on what our goal ought to be at this moment. And she quotes Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. from his book, Where Do We Go From Here? Chaos or Community. And she says, he said, and then she said, our nettlesome task now is to organize in such a way so that the government cannot elude our demands. And so we are committed to building the future that we see for Black children and Black families. And we're so excited because we believe that we are the organization that this moment demands.
That is a very clear way that groups can become a village. It is as simple as reaching out, starting a conversation. And we are ready to support you and to carry you forward, to help you carry out the mission of NBCDI across the nation. However, we also received a lot of questions about how our members and supporters can be involved and do more. We want to do more. People want to do more. They feel the electricity on the ground. They're ready to put their feet on the ground. They're ready to do the things that need to be done. But what do we do? What do we do is the question. And so, Alicia, when you hear that members and supporters are asking, what more can we do? What's the first response you want to provide as a leader of this organization?
Yeah, so what you can do as it connects to the National Black Child Development Institute is help keep us informed. We have an extensive village network, but we are not yet, but we will be one day, everywhere. And so we need to know what is happening on the ground in Black communities. We need to hear from you. What is going on with your mayor? What is happening with your school board? What is the state saying about education and health and maternal health? We all across our eight essential outcomes, the work that we do at the national level is filtered up, bottom sideways, from the ground, from communities. And the research that we lead, the policy that work that we do, the advocacy work that we do is informed by Black communities, for us, by us. And so we need your voice. We need you to reach out and let us know what is happening on the ground. We are not an ivory tower. We do not hold all the answers, but our collective understanding, our collective knowledge, our collective action is something that's so critical to the work of NBCDI. So I would say that's what you can do is reach out to us, read our reports, let us know that, hey, this is happening where we are. This is what it looks like. Be able to attend our webinars and go in the chat and let us know what you're seeing and what you're hearing. Respond to us. Keep us accountable to a collective vision. That's what you can do in the immediate. You can also join us at our conference and come and use your voice and be able to talk about what's happening in person and share and create and become a part of our village.
What about you, Red?
Well, I would just emphasize we want you to start a village. Alicia just said we're going to be everywhere. I want to co-sign. We're about to be everywhere. But we can do that alongside you in all seriousness. And so want to encourage persons, this is the opportunity. Please go online, visit us, write to us, let us know you want to start a village. We look forward to hearing from you, and we look forward to hearing about the needs of your local community. That's so important to us. And I'd also just say that all across this year, we're going to do the work of building around our 8 essential outcomes. All of our work, all of our interventions, our movement building work is going to be focused on that. We're looking forward to persons who are leading work in their local areas to being a part of that work with us.
I love this because it makes me think about how each of us on this stage brings different perspectives, backgrounds, skills, expertise, experiences to this work. And we're just 3. But when we look out there and we think about all of the people in our village network, all of our supporters, all of the people on the ground who are asking, what can I do and how can I do more? You each bring different skills, perspectives, connections, and resources to this work. Nothing is too small. Nothing is too big. Everything is right for what we're trying to do. And so we are excited about the vital and essential role that each of you are going to play in the work that we are planning as a collective voice and as a movement going forward. So in closing, team, I am feeling even like just invigorated with all that we've shared today and the energy that this year offers us to be able to really show up for Black children and families. Can you tell me what you are most excited about for 2025?
Now, that's not even a fair question. I don't know if there's one thing, so I'm gonna do it quick, but I'm gonna share a couple. The one thing I'm most excited about is the Afrofuturism and Systems Change report that we are releasing on February 28th. There will also be another VLS. We'll be talking about the report, really talking about how we are making Afrofuturism apply to a systems change context. I love science fiction. Afrofuturism always meant science fiction, but it's also a policy piece. It is also a way of being a lens through which we will make change. I'm also really excited about our Black Infant and Maternal Health Task Force that we're going to be launching, really looking at the essential outcome that every Black child is born at a healthy weight. We know that research out there often blames Black women for their health disparities when it comes to birthing, and we know that regardless of income, that Black women are more likely to die in childbirth, that their children are more likely to be born at a low birth weight. And we really need to reclaim research in a way that centers Black women and birthing people, and be able to understand the true factors of what is happening and why we are dying, why our children are born at a below birth weight. Because again, the solutions for that are going to fix that are going to come from us. And the lastly, conference. Can't stop saying it. I remember the first time I went to an NBCDI conference and I just looked around and felt like I was at home. So I can't wait for conference. It's going to be amazing. So those are three. So sorry.
I mean, in addition to the brilliance of our team and the brilliance of our network leaders, I would say I am excited about NBCDI's overall movement building work that will drive systems change. Programs are not going to lead us alone to systems change. Advocacy alone is not going to lead us to systems change. Marching, mobilizing alone won't lead us to systems change. It's all of it together. It's programs, it's policy, it's advocacy, it's movement building at the grassroots and the national level that I believe can drive change. And I'm so excited that NBCDI is well positioned to do this work. And we are stronger with those of you who are watching us today.
Thank you for joining us today. We are ready. We are ready for the road ahead. We know that we are on it together. Let's continue to stay focused on our mission and keep the conversation going. Keep working collaboratively. Keep connecting with each other and connecting with us so that we can build a better future together. Feel free to continue this conversation on Facebook. And if you have any additional thoughts or questions or need more information, you can always direct message us or email the address that is on our website. We will respond to you, and we are listening. Immediately after this, you will see some action steps we expect for all of our supporters to participate in. You can also go look for it on our social channels as well. And this information will allow you to move forward, but be sure to tag us. Please, please, please tag us. We want to promote the work that you're doing as well. We want to see it. We want to see the pictures. We want to see the videos. We want to share it broadly. And so make sure you join our email list as well so that you can see some of the things that are happening in your city, but also in cities in states nationwide. Sign up for our listserv, like I said, so that you can register for conference. Registration opens for our national conference in Atlanta, which is October 24th through the 26th. We will see you all on February 28th when we release the exciting and anticipated paper. It is not a report, but it is a report. Afrofuturism and Systems Change, Reclaiming Mental Models for Child Well-Being. You can register from the link on all of our social media channels immediately following this. Thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to the year ahead.